don't normally trade on NFP. However, I did see this potential sell trade, and I actually got in on it, and I didn't win the trade and I didn't lose the trade either. It was actually a break-even trade. A break-even trade for me is better than a losing trade. So yeah, let's just get into it. So first of all, let me just go ahead and remove this over here. Let me redraw it up. First of all, we had a 4-hour resistance up here at this area over here. Let me just mark this out correctly. I think this will do something like that. So first of all, you can see we had a 4-hour resistance over here, right? We can see price tapped it once with a wick, then tapped it again, then we tapped it a bunch over here in this area as well. Price pushed down, we managed to push back up into the resistance zone, and eventually with this 4-hour candle over here, we can see this was obviously 3 o'clock on Thursday, right? So that's nonetheless, and the reason why I'm bringing emphasis to this candle over here, even though it was on Thursday, is because we can see all of this liquidity to the left. This 4-hour liquidity over here, this 4-hour liquidity over here, we can see all of that liquidity to the left. All of it got swept with this Thursday candle over here that I was making reference to, right? So price swept all of the liquidity to the left. Let me just try a different color. Yeah, let's mark that in black. So price swept all the 4-hour liquidity to the left. Price had a massive push up initially, and as we can see, price then failed to stay above the resistance zone, and price actually pushed back into the resistance zone, and actually ended up closing within it, right? So that in itself is a key sign that since price pushed so heavily above the resistance zone, but was rather unable to stay above it and closed the way it did, it showed it would normally show you that there's a good chance price is going to start reversing back down to whatever support zone or whatever liquidity is to the downside. But I'll get into that in a little bit. So like I said, price pushed up, was unable to stay above and actually break the resistance zone. It pushed back down, and closed well within the resistance zone once again. Also, that resulted in, like I said, it resulted in sweeping all of the liquidity, 4-hour liquidity, to the left hand side, right? So now, like I said, that was Thursday's candle, 3 o'clock candle, but nonetheless it was important, right? So now coming into Friday NFP. First of all, looking at the NFP, I saw that for the US, the actual jobs that came out was more than the expected jobs, or the expected amount of jobs that was expected, right? So as we know, since the number of jobs came out higher than expected for the US, obviously it would cause the DXY or the dollar to rise, right? Hence giving the opposite effect to the Euro USD, right? So that's where my sales came in, combined with this what I saw when I looked on Friday and I saw this Thursday candle, right? So with that being said, the NFP came out, jobs data came out higher than expected. That's good for the US. Euro USD would be the opposite, so I would obviously be looking for sales, right? So now coming into Friday, I didn't trade the NFP news, I waited till afterwards. I waited for this 4-hour candle to close. Over here, right? And the reason for that, the reason why I waited for this 4-hour candle to close, right, is because I was looking at this low. I was looking at this 4-hour low over here, right? I was looking at this low and I was thinking if price could break this 4-hour low, break structure to the downside on the 4-hour, it would be a good sign that there's potential for continuation sells, right? And as you can see, uh, this was the 11 o'clock candle, right? This was Friday's 11 o'clock candle, so it closed around 3 o'clock, right? Yeah, it closed 3 o'clock. So at least 3 o'clock before um, I waited till at least 3 o'clock before I looked for actual entries, right? Because I wanted to see how this 4 hour candle was going to close. And it was playing around quite a bit, but eventually you can see that price did indeed, like I said, I was waiting for this low to get broken, this 4 hour low. You can see that price with this candle that closed at 3 o'clock, we can see we did manage to break 4 hour structure to the downside, right? So we managed to break 4 hour structure to the downside, and um, yeah, and together with this 4 hour liquidity sweep on Thursday, with now a 4 hour break of structure to the downside on Friday, and with the NFP data that came out good for the US, we can obviously think Euro USD is going to react the opposite way. Hence, strong, it gave me a strong bearish bias, right? And normally I would wait for New York session to open, right? To give me some sort of, sweep of a high or low of a London or Asian session, right? However, I didn't actually wait for London session to open. Um, sorry, for New York session to open, I actually took the trade uh, at 3 o'clock, just when that 4 hour candle closed at 3 o'clock. And the reason for that is because scrolling down to a lower time frame, this isn't a swing trade, this was a quick scalp or intraday trade, right? So the reason why I didn't still wait for New York session stock exchange to open at 3:30 is because you can see we had a big 15-minute support zone over here, right? And normally I wouldn't even look at a 15-minute support zone, but since this was an intraday trade, this did hold some weight. So we can see price pushed into this, price created this 15-minute support zone, and we can see price pushed into it a couple of times, failed to break above, and then pushed higher, right? Pushed higher. So eventually, um, coming into the NFP news, and after the NFP news, we can see price pushed down um, pre-NFP into the support zone once again, right? So eventually, then the NFP news obviously came out, and with this 15-minute candle at 2:30, which is when the NFP came out, right? We can see price pushed and broke, actually, price pushed and broke below the 15-minute support zone, right? It broke below the 15-minute support zone, and with this week, we can see price initially pushed up, failed to break or stay above rather the 15-minute support zone. It failed, broke through, it now becomes 15-minute resistance, right? So that's a good confirmation. We had, like I said, the 4 hour liquidity sweep on Thursday. Now coming into Friday, we had the 4 hour break of structure. Then we broke below a 15-minute key, rather a key. We broke rather below a key 15-minute for the US. Again, let me emphasize this: negative, or the Euro USD rather would move the opposite direction. So back to what I was saying, with this 15-minute break of the support zone, it now becomes a 15-minute resistance zone, and you can see on the next 15-minute candle, I'm not sure, was that a 15-minute or a 5-minute that I entered? You just see, yeah, it was on the next 15-minute candle, right? So yeah, it was it was on the next 15-minute candle. So as soon as this 15-minute candle closed um, below the support zone, on the open of the next 15-minute candle, so when I took my sales, right? My stop loss was just as you can see, my stop loss was just above the now 15-minute resistance zone, and price did push into drawdown. Fortunately, didn't stop me out, and then price continued to push lower, right? So I'll explain now where my final TP was. But first of all, my TP1 was just above the low of this candle, just in case price wanted to sweep this 15-minute low over here and then continue to push up, right? So The reason, yeah, so that's the reason why my first TP was there. So as soon as price actually tapped into, you can see here with this candle over here, price pushed into and hit my TP1, right? And it was at this point when I moved my stop loss to break even, right? So I moved my stop loss to break even, and then price pushed up actually for a retrace, and actually, and that's when price stopped me out at break even, right? So yeah, that's when price stopped me out and break even. And normally I wouldn't have moved, since this was an intraday trade. I wouldn't have moved my stop loss, to break even after my TP1 got hit. But the reason for that is because it was NFP, and normally I don't even trade on NFP days or even CPI days. But I just wanted to be as riskless as possible. But unfortunately, it just got wicked out at break even, and then you can clearly see price continued and pushed and actually hit my final TP, or my main TP, right? So let me just explain quickly where my final TP was, right? Uh, so as you can see by the second green line, my final TP was around this 4 hour low over here. And the reason why my main or second TP was at this 4 hour low over here is because I was anticipating price not this I was anticipating price to sweep some sort of 4 hour liquidity, right? To sweep some sort of lows. So I didn't think this low was good enough, hence why I targeted this 4 hour low over here for my TP, right? And I was correct, because you can see with this candle over here, what did it do this week over here, this 4 hour candle? Look at the week. The 4 hour week did indeed end up sweeping this 4 hour 4 hour liquidity low over here. Yeah, so that's the reason why my final TP was there. um, a lot of disappointed that I actually got stopped out at break even, but I'd take a break even day over a losing day um, anytime, and it was NFP as well. So yeah, quick trade recap: break even day on Friday, which is actually extremely good for trading on an NFP day. I would have obviously liked to win the trade, since my bias, my execution, uh, where I put my TPs, everything was on. Where I put both my TPs, everything was on point. Just unfortunately got wicked out at break even, but that happens. It's better to be safe than sorry. And yeah, break even day on Friday. Come back next week and see what the market has to offer.